And welcome to another episode of Mostly Satisfactory, where I try to work my way through this incredibly complex and yet amazingly beautiful game. Last time, I built basically a buffer zone between... Oh boy. Oh, okay. I built a buffer zone between my planned production facilities and where they actually go into storage. And the point being is, before that, they were produced and went immediately to storage, and there was no space there to divert materials to further production down the line. That was a learning opportunity on my part. But where we're at now is I didn't quite finish that job. What we've done is we've set up the production and storage for concrete and copper sheeting and wiring and cables. And now we are working on my iron products. So that would be iron plates, iron rods, and of course screws. Where we were running into this is I don't have an infinite amount of horizontal space on the horizontal plane. So I decided that for screws, I'm going to need to go up. And that's what we're doing here. I've set up a constructor that would produce iron rods. And from the iron rods, we will need to take in some of the iron rods to make screws. And that would be the first of these upper level commodities. But to do that, I'm going to need to run some conveyors up here. And Chubby here is in the way. Creatures in the way. Anytime you want to move, knock yourself out. Anytime. Go right ahead. These guys usually don't stay in one place for very long. They're usually pretty active and keep moving. I don't know why this guy seems to be determined to park here. Why will this not connect? So, oh, you know, if the material comes up here, I'm going to need to produce it. I'm going to need to move the constructor one more foundation over. And currently I have a belt here, so I need to remove this stuff. Like so. And then we need to build a foundation right here. And then that's what will get fed with this. Oh yeah. My claim to fame is to set everything lined up, just having it facing the wrong direction. So I'm getting better at that, slowly but surely. Okay, so now bits will come from down below. They'll come to here. So the only bit we're missing is this one. That runs right to the back side of this walking water. Whoa. 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 I didn't know you could do this. This is kind of fun. I mean, normally they keep moving, so I mean, the opportunity to do this would be pretty much virtually nil. But did you know you could do this? I mean, I got an achievement saying I did it, but I didn't actually do this. I just ran into his leg. And he seems impervious to pain. He is not moving. He seems to be making a career move out of hanging out in the middle of my production floor. Okay, how do I get down without killing myself? So, let's try the legs. He feels it. My guess is he spawned into the equipment when I loaded the game. And now we just gotta start removing stuff until he's freed up. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't nuke the world. Maybe just exit the game and restart. There we go. I hope he doesn't take revenge on me for beating the snot out of him. Okay. Crisis averted. And we learned some valuable lessons. These the walking water balloons are incredibly fun to bounce on, and at least when they are trapped in the environment, they seem pretty passive when you harm them. I don't know if he would have been that passive if he was free to move. Probably. Okay. So I think that's all the bits I need. Oh, I didn't do this straight. Changed back to building mode to straight, not dismantle. I got fat fingers tonight. Sorry. Straight mode. There you go. Look at that. Nice right angle. Just like intended by nature. Okay. So to turn the machine to screws. Now we just got to get a bunch of metal in here, right? I think that's the point. We'll also need to work on the walls supporting the extra foundation, but otherwise, oh, I guess I didn't hook this up. Okay, now we're ready. It would have been a Griswold's moment, right? You remember if you watch a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, where he totally wired up the house with Christmas lights, and then they flipped the switch and nothing worked, and he's like, you wondering why. One little piece was missing, and now we found it. So let's lay some foundations to set the approach of material. You don't have to say it that way. That's just how fancy experts say it when they talk about material, but military people especially, right? They don't move material, they move materiel. Yeah. I don't know what it is. They're like cats. They like to just kind of like walk into the middle of whatever you're doing and park themselves. Except this one's mobile, so we'll let him do his thing. Got to figure out the power for all these new machinas. Do it this way. We add a pole here. And connect them like this. Okay. Everything's got juice, just doesn't have material. Or material. I guess, you know, if you're a materials consultant, you can't charge as much as a materials consultant. What happened to all the copper? It was working. And now it's a whole lot of nothing. Well, I'm kind of headed this way anyway. But it's, I mean, there shouldn't be any reason for things to just stop working. That's not how this game works. I mean, a power outage would do it, but then I'd know about that because everything would shut down. It's all tied together now. And yeah, I can see that, you know, the stuff is getting power here. Okay, my smelter's off? Yep, my smelter's off. No, smelter's on. Well, the miner's off. Oh, I think I turned this off last episode. Yep, miner's off. Miner's on. So, everything had slowed down because I had made a minor mistake. Ah, yes. Yes. I'll keep it off while it starts processing the stuff I had in my inventory, and then I can get rid of the rest of it in my inventory. With all this assembly and disassembly and assembly again, I've got a lot of material in my inventory that I don't need, that should be put back into circulation, so to speak. And of course, taking this space apart is going to complicate that by an order of magnitude, I think. It's times like this you kind of wish you could do like a marquee selection, right? Just like select everything in my view and then delete it. Here I could do hold control down and select a bunch of stuff, but then there's the stuff that I didn't get, right? It's better than nothing, but not radically much, or radically better. Now that I'm taking it apart, I mean, it wasn't that long ago I set all this up, but now that I'm taking it apart, it really appears to be so random to me now. So, just find it interesting. Yeah, see? Like, I'd want to select... Oh, maybe it's just... It's like a UFO up there. Get rid of that. They're like, oh, I can move now. No, you can't. No, you can't. I've noticed that apparently Satisfactory 1.1 is in the works, which, I mean, that's not surprising. Of course it is. But I guess we're getting close to it being ready because there's a lot of chatter. Wired, so there is a limit. Okay. There's a lot of chatter about what that means and when it will happen. And a lot of that chatter is based on conjecture from looking at a trailer video. I mean, that's kind of like almost an Olympic sport now, looking at a trailer and then trying to figure out what it means. Movies and games, especially games though. So, okay. Can I throw in the rest of this stuff? Not quite. It's still taking its sweet time to process. I think I'll leave these stairs in place so that we have a readily accessible way of getting up and down into this little hidden valley. In case you want salad dressing. Yeah. I think that's it over there. They look like drones, is what they look like when they're hovering in space like that. Drones. That's an interesting phenomenon, right? I've talked about in other episodes of some video. I don't know. It might have been this series where. My friend Eric and I were into remote control stuff for a while. So we were fascinated by remote control planes, but we couldn't afford planes. We were mostly remote control cars. But when drones came out, and of course at that point my wife was still poo-pooing anything I wanted to do that was fun. So drones were definitely out of the picture. And they were pretty expensive in the beginning, right? But this is something I had actually dreamed about my entire life, right? I mean, I've also explained in the past some of my dad's hobby was making these balsa wood planes, large planes. I mean, the biggest one he made had like a wingspan of almost 6 feet, but they weren't remote controlled. They were gas powered. And, I thought that was pretty interesting. I loved the idea of being able to fly. And I remember one time in the mail, completely random, we got an Estes rocketry catalog. And so I was pouring through this, and this is like, 1979, 1980, somewhere around there. So it was a long, long time ago. So let's see. Impure. Okay. So the Estes rocketry catalog, of course, if you know anything about model rocketry, to launch them, they have all sorts of different parts, the bodies and nose cones and engines and all this jazz. So if I lock this in place like this is, I forgot it's not ready yet, but this is where we'll build our smelter complex for the iron ore. Anyway, so it has all the stuff, but it also has kits, right? I mean, you get a kit and it has like all the engines and stuff you would need to make one. But my point on all this is that a lot of people who get the drones now, they use the drones to take, video footage and stuff. And of course, we didn't have the drones before, and remote control helicopters did exist, but they were even more crazy expensive than planes, which were crazy expensive already. But the Estes rocket catalog, I remember they had some kits in there for some fairly larger rockets, but they were built so that they had a camera in them. So the idea was that you built this rocket and then you launch it. And I need production is what I need. Yeah, smelters. Just need to line these up, and they're already facing the right direction. Yay! Anyway, so the way this rocket would work is it's the model rocket, like a model rocket. So you put it together, you put it on a launch pad, you launch it. But this one had a camera in, and the way it worked is when it reached the apex of its trajectory, right? Because it goes up and it comes back down. But at that point where it's right there at the top, I'm not quite sure how. I didn't get the kit, couldn't afford that either. But it would take a picture, right? So you could use your model rocket to take pictures from the sky. Now, nowadays with drones and stuff, whoop-de-doo, you can get 4K video footage from like even cheapy drones. But back then, we're talking 45 years ago, getting aerial photos from something you could do at home, and of course there were photos, so you had to take the film to the drugstore or the photomat, if you even know what a photomat was, and get the film developed, right? But that was just so hyper cool, right? That just, it's the fact that I could do so, I could take a picture, I could do my own aerial recon. And to give you an idea, if you watch Stranger Things, those kids, they were only a few years younger than me, right? I was the same age as Nancy. I class of '85, so that tells you the time frame we're talking about. To be able to take your own aerial reconnaissance was just crazy out there, cool. But we didn't. I didn't have the money. Until my mom remarried, we didn't have much money at all. So, in fact, I didn't even get my freshman yearbook because we didn't have the money for the $20 to get the yearbook. Now, on a related note, and maybe I'll go try to find it. I'm sure it's out there. Somebody, this is around 2005, 2008, somewhere around there. Somebody, again, it was a model rocket, but not an Estes model. I mean, it's not like a NASA rocket, but it's like a proper rocket, right? It's like 8 feet long or 10 feet long, but and I think it uses like proper rocket fuel and stuff. But what they did is they essentially mounted a video camera. If I do that, it's going the wrong direction. I can't do that. I got to do it this way. Anyhow, they built this rocket, and they were out in the desert, in the California desert, the Mojave, and they launched this thing. And the thing is it's got video running the whole time. So, you can see the camera on the rocket is looking down toward the launch pad. And you can see the guys bustling around the rocket, making some last-minute corrections here and there. And then you see them run away. And then it does have sound, but I don't remember what the sound was at this point. But then the rocket launches. And, it's if you ever watched, like, the Apollo rocket liftoff, right? That thing, you see all the smoke and fire, and this thing's just sitting there. And then it slowly starts moving, right? Yeah, that wasn't the case with this thing, right? This thing kind of like almost immediately leaps and takes off. And at this point, I definitely remember the sound is kind of like a, and it's going like a bat out of hell. And with the video footage, you're watching this thing launch up through the sky. Now, the first time I watched it, I figured this thing would go a couple thousand feet and then come back. But no, this thing keeps going. This thing goes to suborbital levels, right? It goes up to the point where the sound cuts out because there's no oxygen. It's not hearing anything, right? And the camera's still working, and it gets up to where this is the middle of the day. They were in the desert in the middle of the day, but this gets up to the point where the sky turns black. There's not enough oxygen up there to give it atmospheric color. And it reaches the apex, and you can see as the body of the rocket starts to kind of tumble a little bit. You see the curvature of the Earth, and I'm thinking, oh my God! And then the thing comes back down, right? And it starts falling back to Earth, and the camera's still running. It's still capturing audio, and as it starts to re-enter the Earth's atmosphere, of course, it's not really big enough or going fast enough to we don't have the fiery re-entry, but this thing is coming in and it's falling, and you start hearing the whoosh of the atmosphere as it's coming down. I don't want to pass through the dirt. I'm gonna have to redo this. Yeah. Anyway, so it comes back down, and then then the chutes come out. So the chutes come out, and this thing's now on falling much more gently, which is the whole point of the parachutes. And then it lands, and you see these guys approaching in a vehicle. But that was, oh man, I would have loved to have been part of that. That was just awesome. So like I said, I'm pretty sure I saw that on YouTube. It might not have been YouTube, because if it was on YouTube, it would have been it'd be like one of the oldest videos on YouTube at this point. But maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I gotta see if I can find it. It might have been passed over as a file attachment. But that would have been a pretty big file, especially for those days. But I don't know. I'll see if I can find it for you. But so getting back to drones. So when drones came out, So before I talk about drones, somebody mentioned that if I tried to do this with the limestone thing, but if I get to my node and I use the control to snap to the world grid, I could then build a miner that would better snap to the world grid, because the miners don't snap to the world grid, but they do snap to foundations. Now, what I've discovered, besides the fact that I'm missing a portable miner, is that they do snap to foundations, but they still have an exact location that they have to be on the node. So what that means is I put down the foundations, and if it was anything other than a miner, it would align itself on the foundations horizontally in both directions, X and Y. But this thing has to be on a node exactly, so it will still line itself north, south, east, west on the world grid based on the foundations, but it will be off center. Unless you're incredibly lucky, it'll be off center on the foundation itself. So that's what we have here. And I built enough to build, I made enough portable miners that I can go ahead and add miners to all 4 nodes. I don't know if I will, though, because I'm not entirely sure I can handle the output of all 4 nodes. And on one of them's, 3 of them are impure and 1 is normal. So I'm going to have a glut of iron. I mean, as I've said before, it's a temporary glut. I'm sure I'll get to a point where it will not be enough iron. But for now, it'll be a glut. Not enough space to pick up leaves. I need space to pick up leaves? And I don't have enough? What does that even mean? I have inventory space. Is that going to give me like 1,000 leaves and they won't fit in my inventory? Because this is giving me leaves. Not enough space. Okay. That's one more mystery we could add to the basket. So, here's my miner. And it's hanging off the side of my foundation. So let's get it properly. You can see it's not lined up with the foundations, but it is lined up on the north, south, east, west, thanks to the foundations. And just to make sure I'm doing this right? Here we go. Right, and there it is. Even holding down control won't get me anything better than that. That is what it is. Kind of obnoxious. Not speaking so well today. So we'll want to add some more foundations because what I want to do is we're going to have to put... it's not a splitter. What do we call this thing? It's a merger. Yeah, it's logistics. And if we go down here... merger. Yeah, it is a merger. Okay, so you know we got 3 other iron nodes that are gonna join this gravy train. So now I need to line this up with the conveyor belt and the miner. It seems to want to line up with the conveyor belt. It doesn't seem like it wants to line up with the miner. This is the part I hate. Random stuff doesn't quite line up. And see, now it should be, there we go. Okay, I think we're cooking with gas again. Okay, so I've got my iron miner connected to a bunch of smelters, and I think I have to tell it to mine iron, right? No, he figured it out. Okay. So let me run down here. I got a bunch of iron in my pocket, so let's give these guys their marching orders and then give them my iron. Whoops, too far. Can I get to it from here? Kind of. Ooh, rock. Okay, so now I have a miner producing iron that's going to 3 smelters that will produce ingots that will send to 3 constructors that will produce plates and... Oh, but I didn't connect. The smelters are not connected to anything yet. Well, I was going to say I was a lot further done than I really am. I thought I did it. Why didn't you guys remind me? That's no excuse. That's okay. So again, we need a merger or 2. We need 2. So let's see. That was merger, right? That was in logistics. A merger. And I need to make sure I turn it the right direction. Okay. So that's correct. And I need another merger in front of this one. There we go. Line up with both. Now we just belt them. I should have plenty of plates. These guys are actually doing stuff now. Yep. Iron ingots are flowing into the splitter. And now we just run it to our production. I mean, that's it. Now, I know that after we spent so much time trying to do right angles with the copper, and I said, you know what, from now on, we diagonals are okay. We don't have to stick strictly by right angles. We can do diagonals when we're going cross country like this. And that's still true. I still feel that way, except for one thing. I already did the copper's right angles, right? And what is the problem with you now? Oh, did I have this backwards? So the copper is already right angles. I just said that if I redo it, I will redo it with the diagonals. So to do right angles and then right next to the right angles do diagonals, it would look kind of cuckoo. So I guess this is a legacy issue, right? We're gonna continue. Yeah, it won't let you do it that way. I have to go back to the stand. And then this. Is that straight? Nope. Not even remotely. Okay, and we need to bring this down. Yeah, I'm not deconstructing it. I'm picking it up. There we go. So it's not just my fat fingers that aren't working tonight. It's my fat brain. So line this up like so. Raise it up a little bit. You know, it's kind of funny. In the initial couple episodes of this, I was struggling to manually make, 50 plates, 100 rods. And I'm looking at my inventory, and I mean, my inventory is full of numbers that I would have been hard pressed to make over the course of 2 episodes, and now I just I got all this stuff in my pocket. I gotta use it up and then find a place to put it. I'm definitely not I'm still, yes, a newbie, but I'm not like quite the newbie I was before. As my wife says, they grow up so fast. But anyway. And they do grow up fast. I mean, she was talking about our aquarium fish, but I assume she was also talking about our kids. Yes, we have aquarium fish. I don't know if I've ever told you guys this. We had kids, right? Our kids are 15 now, but once upon a time they were a lot younger than that. And like young kids do, they're like, Mom, Dad, we want pets, we want animals. And of course, as you say, what do you want? You get the whole list. We want a turtle, we want this, we want that. Of course, dogs and cats were high on the list. Now, I'm an animal lover. I love the animals. My wife loves animals. She really loves the idea of animals, right? Whenever we go to somebody's house and they have a dog, she sits on the complete opposite side of the room from the dog. Doesn't really want to have anything to do with it. Now, you show her a calendar full of cute puppies or kittens, she'll ooh and ah, all day and all night. But it's really the idea of animals that she loves. The animals themselves, she's not so wild about. But I grew up with animals, and so I really do love them. I always had them around the house. But once you start living in an apartment, then having animals is difficult. Being a single guy working long hours also made it difficult. So when I married my wife, I didn't have any animals. But for much of my adult career, I did have animals. I had fish, aquarium fish. And I got that habit from my friend Eric. But anyway, the moral of the story is the kids were screaming that they wanted pets. And my wife was somewhat prone to give in to those requests. And I was like, no, hold on again. Because I know how this is going to go, right? What would happen is we will get a pet, and whatever pet we get, they will take care of absolutely religiously for the quarter of maybe a week. Then another couple weeks where they take care of it in a spotty fashion. And then maybe a month after that, they'll take care of it, kinda, and after that, it's all up to me. It's now my pet, Papa's pet. Now, I just know how these things work, right? I've seen it happen 1,000 times. So I told them, here's how it works. You can have your pet. Oh, I didn't do this either. Look at this. I said, you can have your pets, but it's a process, right? You're not going to get a dog day one. What we're going to do is we're going to kind of start at the bottom of the pet pyramid, right? And you can get, we'll start with fish, because I actually enjoy taking care of fish. I took care of fish for a decade before I moved out of California, so I said, I can do that. And if they wind up not taking care of the fish, I'm okay with still taking care of the fish, right? They just become Papa's fish. But I said, so here's how it works. We'll get the fish. You take care of the fish. You clean the tank. You feed the fish. You do everything associated with the fish for a school year. And over the summer, we will get you the next step up, say a turtle or a salamander. You take care of that for a school year. And at the end of the school year in the summer, we'll get you the next step up. And we'll work our way to hamsters, and eventually we'll get to a dog or a cat, or a dog and a cat. And here it is, 10 years later, and we still have fish. So there you go. It's not like I dodged a bullet. I put a process in place. I knew they couldn't live up to it, and it took me as far as I was willing to go anyway, so it all works out. Oh boy. Now, what I didn't anticipate is, like I said, my wife's not real keen on animals touching her or being near her, but something has happened in the past year where she has, I don't know, because one of the things I like about fish is in the middle of the day, I go and I feed them, and that's when I'll sit down in front of the fish tank and I just watch them for 5 to 10 minutes, and it's a really powerful decompression technique, right? Well, I think she's discovered that. And in addition to decompression, we've always stuck with live bearers. So we have guppies at the moment. We've had guppies for, almost 5 years now. And the original generation, guppies are pretty prolific. So we had an original generation of guppies, and then we had a tank full of guppies. We had like 25 guppies. And over the course of a few years, the guppies have a built-in mechanism, so you can't keep having inbreeding forever. At some point, they quit having children, and then, of course, that was good. Couldn't support an infinite number of guppies in the same tank, but then eventually they die off. They don't live forever, so now we were down to just a few, and my wife was starting to freak out about it. She's like, we need to get more fish, which caught me by surprise because I didn't realize she was even paying attention to the fish. So, we went and got a few female guppies, and we had a couple males that were still sprightly. And they do what males and females do, and so now we got baby guppies. But unlike in the past, the first batch of baby guppies. We had like 13 or 15 guppies, right? We were on a track record. I mean, we're on track to do exactly what we had before. I was okay with that. And then all the babies disappeared. And that was kind of wild. I was like, what in the world? And my wife's getting really upset that we had babies. She loved them, and now they're gone. And this is kind of amazing to me because, like I said, she loves the idea of animals more than animals themselves. So for her to have these reactions, she was invested in a way she'd never been invested before. And I found it just absolutely fascinating. So, but, you know, then this relaxing hobby of mine became a high-stress honey-do list. So he took care of it. Now, I eventually wound up doing is they have these like little fish cages, right? They call them brooding nets or whatever, but basically it's a little mesh cage that you put into the tank. So it shares the same water as the tank, but you put your baby fish in and the big fish can't get in, usually. And so your baby fish are able to grow free of any realistic chance of being eaten. And, you know, we kept having more and more babies and they kept getting eaten, so that's why I got that thing. And so now we have one. And we got a couple baby fish in there. I don't know why they're not producing them like they were before. But that's okay. That's okay. Anyhow, so every day, even knowing I go to the tank 3 times a day to, you know, look over fish and do, you know, small feedings, because you dump a bunch of food in there, it all turns bad. So you got to give them a little bit multiple times during the day. So I'm in the tank all the time. I know what's going on, who's sick, the whole shebang. I'm getting reports from my wife on a text in the middle of the workday, right? When she takes her break and she's over there looking at the tank, I will get a status report telling me what I already know. But the fact is now she knows it too, right? She actually cares. Okay, this is something new for me. I'm cool with this. More than cool, in fact. So the girls, you know, don't really care about the fish so much, but my wife does now, so that's something. Okay, so we've got additional miners poised to produce. Looks kind of cool when you see them on the not distant horizon, near horizon, but you know what's fascinating. If you live in or ever been to Los Angeles, you would say it's a very urban location, and it is, right? But what this reminds me of is if you ever look at pictures of parts of LA, especially around Long Beach, around 1910, 1900, 1920. You would be surprised to see what you see, right? Those Long Beach, California, some of the most expensive real estate in the United States. At that era, there's actually a large oil field. There's still a large oil field, and in a few places you can find. Is this really lined up? It doesn't look right to me. No, that's not even remotely close. What was it lining up to? Is it lining up to something like the other side of the map? Okay. Go home, Satisfactory. You're drunk. Anyway, you look at these old pictures of Long Beach, California, in the very early parts of the 20th century, and it was practically wall-to-wall oil rigs, right? I mean, the big tower like you see in pictures like in Texas. Yeah. And not only were they in all over Long Beach, but I mean, if you go to Long Beach, you got some nice beach there, right? Hence the name, Long Beach. Yeah. The oil rigs went right on down to the water practically. So when I was looking out across this veranda and I see a couple of iron mines out there, it just reminded me of the vision of looking out across the city of Long Beach with a sea of old oil wells. Well, not old, they were new back then, but yeah, I'm just telling you, if you're interested in that kind of thing, you should look it up. The internet's wonderful. You can Before you would have to like probably go to the city of Long Beach, municipal archives or something. But now, or the historical society. But now most of that stuff you can find on the web. I mean, that's how I saw it. So look it up. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. There we go. I had it lined up like that. Now I need it to line up to the side, and and I'm holding snap. I think I need to get these things closer together. It doesn't look right. Doesn't look right. I don't know why they make this so complicated. So okay, now these are really close together. I should be able to put down a merger, and it should line them up both ways, right? Okay, that's all one. All right. Okay, so line up a one. Kind of. I'm having a hard time lining them both up. Oh. Nobody breathe. Don't move. Okay. Oh, you are killing me here. You are killing me. I'm not going to move that I'm not moving the merger. I'm not. Okay. I'm not. Okay, you go bye-bye. You fix. You too. I remember as a kid in Southern California, sometimes we would go someplace where they had one of those. Nowadays they don't have these oil derricks, right? That looks like a tower. They have these things that look like these grasshoppers. There's a name for them. It's a type of pump basically, but it's still pumping oil out of the ground. And it's kind of weird because you're in metropolitan or suburban LA, or one of the bazillion cities around LA, and you're at a strip mall or something, and there's this oil pump just pumping. You know what? That conveyor belt's not quite straight, which is bugging the living bejesus out of me, but fight that fight another day. For now, it stays. It gets a reprieve. Okay, so we've got the iron coming in from 2 mines. We've got it being split up and sent to 3 smelters. And I know that's not the proper ratio for peak efficiency, but you remember my mantra up to this point is not peak efficiency. My mantra is just get it done, get something working. We can optimize later, and I think you would safely admit that where we're at now, it could definitely use optimization, but we're still just trying to get the basics in place, right? At this point, I have now completely replaced the functionality of my original base. So it took us a while. It took me a while, but I'm in better shape than I was. Now there are a few little tweaks I need to make, but at this point I really need to think about what I want. Did I come back? Oh, I'm okay. I want to think about what I'm gonna do next, and next I'm pretty sure it's gonna be I know what it is. It's the order in which they start telling me to make this crazy stuff. So that would be rotors and reinforced plates, and I got to think my way through that. But we're gonna have a little bit of a razzle dazzle, because we're producing all the ingredients for those things. They're just that they're already on a conveyor belt, so now we're going to have to do some moving stuff around to get it from the conveyor belt. Meanwhile, I was thinking about this. This is the same width as the Amazon distribution facility. So and they're just basically one foundation's width away. So why don't I just connect the two with catwalks? So, and again, some of you old timers, some of you pros, experts were looking at it going, why did you just connect them with catwalks? Yeah, because I'm not as smart and as experienced as you. That's why. But I'm catching up slowly. So now we just turn this like into a drawbridge kind of thing. See? Look at that. The problem is I gotta mix my guardrails, and yeah, I don't even mix them. I just gotta replace them. Like I said, this guardrail, right? They call it modern railing. See, the industrial railing seems modern to me. The one that they call modern railing, that looks like the railing they put on like playground equipment in the 50s and 60s. That if to my mind, that is the opposite of modern. But maybe those guys over who makes Satisfactory? Is it Coffee Stain? I think so. So maybe the guys at Coffee Stain, they saw a new playground that had these types of bars, and they thought, look, that's the new thing, right? Little did they know. I mean, it could be a case of, what was old is new again. And trust me, I need to line this up. Otherwise, the rails will be off on this one, too. I got to line it up like here. Oh, but it's... Oh, okay, it will. So, I need to kill off this piece and put in an intersection piece. And then build my drawbridge piece. Except it doesn't really draw up and down, so it's not a drawbridge, it's a bridge, I guess. There we go. Some shall pass. If you get that reference, please put a comment in the comments below. Tell me that you recognize it, what it was. It's not an exact reference. It's a paraphrase. For catwalks, these are really wide, right? This is not like a catwalk. A catwalk to me is something where two people have a hard time passing each other on. And this, you could drive a car on. But, I'm not going to argue over terminology. But there we are. There we are. This is what I was hoping to be an episode or two ago, but I'm here now. So, there we go. I want to thank you for joining me on this little excursion, putting up with my meanderings and my trial and my error. This is really great. It has been... this is still a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying the watching, because I'm really enjoying the learning, the bumbling, and the building. So... I will be back next time to finally move forward with the grand plan. Well, I guess we're still not moving forward, still making up for last time, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so until next time, I hope this finds you and yours in good health, good spirits, and perhaps a touch of good fortune. Cheers.